Hey friends, I'm Emma. Welcome back to the show. The drama in court has officially hit a boiling point. Robyn Brown has just been exposed for lying under oath. And the aftermath? Explosive. Janelle and Mary aren't keeping quiet anymore. They're dropping bombshells about Cody that could turn everything upside down. So what did Robyn lie about anyway? And what are Cody and Robyn so keen to keep quiet about? Watch this space. Because what follows will leave you gobsmacked. The courtroom tension was electric. Gasps could be heard ringing out as Robyn Brown, who had appeared to be the always devoted fourth wife in the sister wives saga, was caught in a shocking falsehood during a hot-tempered court battle. It transpired more like a TV drama series conclusion than an actual court hearing. Janelle and Mary Brown, Cody's two former wives, were steadfast, supported by evidence, resolve, and a singular purpose to uncover the truth. What they exposed didn't merely shake the courtroom, it shook the entire Sister Wives universe. It started when Robyn moved forward to testify in defense of what many perceive as her stranglehold on Cody and the remnants of the Brown family's dwindling wealth. Tears flowed as she took her oath, insisting she knew nothing of Cody's financial decisions. She maintained she had no control over family holdings, no involvement in the sale of Coyote Pass, and zilch to do with the recent cash crisis. But that version of things fell apart quickly. Mary, clutching a stack of files, demonstrated Robyn not only knew of the financial choices, she had indeed approved several of them during the last 2 years. Janelle, ever a keen number cruncher, proved to be a much-needed rescue mission, with one hit after another. Robyn had been secretly hiding joint property deeds, fiddling with family bank accounts, and collaborating with Cody to cut both she and Mary in on significant decisions. She played the victim, Janelle insisted, but Robyn was in charge the entire time. She wasn't sitting in the front passenger seat. She was behind the wheel, and she exactly knew the way. The courtroom fell mute as the judge announced a recess to review the new evidence. At the same time, the internet lost it. Reddit, TikTok, YouTube, all social media were inundated with theories, flashbacks, and old interviews in which Robyn's accounts didn't hold up. One old season 15 clip reappeared and went viral again. In it, Robyn says she simply wanted peace. But in the same episode, she confesses that she and Cody had private conversations regarding the family's finances, without the others. What really sent shockwaves through the room? A leaked audio recording, supposedly captured by Janelle last year, where Cody is heard whispering to Robyn, "They don't need to know everything. We'll do this our way." That clip alone might change the entire direction of the case. Mary, long seen as the emotional heart of the family, came into court this time with renewed strength, and she did not hold back. "I dedicated years to being faithful to someone who never gave that same loyalty back," she told the judge, plainly addressing Cody. But to see Robyn lie so effortlessly and pretend innocence in front of everyone, it's nauseating. And the surprises didn't end there. Forensics showed Cody had transferred significant amounts from family funds into those in Robyn's name, all for domestic needs, supposedly. But those needs actually encompassed luxury buys, first-class travel, and school costs for Robyn's children, while other kids in the family were said to have gone without. It is dubbed the ultimate betrayal by fans. As one TikTok user wrote, "Cody always had a favorite. Now we know just how far he went for her, and how far she'd go to protect herself, even if it meant lying under oath." This courtroom drama is far from over. But one thing's for sure, the truth is finally emerging. And the secrets the Browns worked so diligently to conceal are coming apart at the seams faster than anyone anticipated. The sister wives have long captivated audiences with their complex relationships and alternative lifestyle. But increasingly, Robyn Brown has emerged as the most contentious character of them all. Having initially been perceived as the new wife struggling to settle into an established household, she is now looked at by many as being the brains behind the mayhem. The fans are having their say, calling out what they perceive as Robyn's concerted efforts to reinvent history, particularly about her 3 oldest children and their father, David Jessup. What most gets under the skin of longtime viewers. Robyn's children, Dayton, Aurora, and Brianna had lives, histories, and a father prior to Cody's arrival. Rather than allow that history to quietly stand, though, Robyn is said to have attempted to erase it in its entirety. From emotional blackmail to formal paperwork, even to a chilling work of art that continues to give shudders to fans, it appears Robyn didn't merely want to start anew. She desired a completely new story. Cringe-inducing even today, from the very start of her life with the Brown family, Robyn appeared set to keep her children distant from their birth father, David Jessup. David never played any public role in the family, despite fathering 3 of Robyn's children. Gradually, however, it transpired that Robyn wished him completely eliminated from the narrative. She reportedly stood by, or at least did not protest, his relinquishing his parental rights. After that occurred, Cody Brown formally adopted all 3 of her children. What might have been a stabilizing action for the children became instead a symbolic erasure of where they originated. But Robyn didn't stop there. What followed really left the fan base stunned. She gifted Cody a personally painted family picture. In the picture, a younger Cody was surrounded by 3 children, unmistakably intended to be Dayton, Aurora, and Brianna. The issue? The timeline. This photo envisioned a reality that never existed. Cody was depicted as though he had been their father all along, inserted into their lives right from the start. It was if Robyn had traveled back through time and substituted history itself, putting in Cody as the kids' original father, when in fact he didn't become part of their lives until they were already grown up. That gesture didn't sit well, nor with viewers, and nor with some members of the family either. Several watched as the photo appeared hauntingly familiar to an old family picture of Cody with Christine and their children. But in Robyn's take, Christine's kids were missing, substituted by Robyn's. And at the heart of it all, emotionally, Robyn herself. Fans immediately condemned the act, calling her out for fabricating a memory to further secure her position in the family. It was described as manipulative, bizarre, and emotionally tone-deaf. Even Cody appeared visibly uncomfortable as she displayed it on the show. And that episode? That was the genesis of her notorious nickname, Sobbin' Robyn. The nickname stuck when she emotionally described the painting as a symbolic memory she wanted to make for their family. But rather than evoking sympathy, many were unsettled. They perceived it as another manipulation, with emotional stories to alter perception and manipulate relationships. And it wasn't one-off. Robyn has a track record, giving emotional, tear-stained speeches to excuse or rationalize her decisions. There's one moment in particular that stood out, which occurred at a church family service. Robyn preached a sermon on saving oneself for marriage. Tears flowed from her eyes as she acknowledged that she hadn't waited, expressing great regret. The message was one of clarity. She wished she had saved herself for Cody. For some, it was a stark, unflinching moment. But to many others, it was an acutely awkward note. What did that do to the kids who were produced by her previous relationships? It left viewers pondering, was Robyn implying that her oldest children shouldn't have been born because they are this way? Again, it referenced her discomfort with the life she had prior to Cody, and her continued attempt at remaking it into something more in keeping with the image she sought to present. Of course, one of the most confrontational actions ever taken in Sister Wives history was when Cody officially divorced Mary so he could marry Robyn. The official reason then? So Cody could legally adopt Robyn's children and provide them with a legitimate family structure. But that rationale didn't fool fans. They thought the real motive went deeper. In their minds, Robyn wasn't simply being promoted emotionally, she was being promoted legally, socially, even spiritually, over the other wives. And Mary's involvement in all of it? Tragic. She stepped aside, gave up her legal status with Cody so that Robyn could marry him, all allegedly for the sake of the children. But viewers witnessed it differently. Yet another move of dominance in Robyn's years-long effort to cement her position as the preferred wife. Cut to the newer seasons, and the fractures in the family only grew larger. The tension between Cody and Robyn's other children grew more apparent than ever. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Cody doubled down on spending almost all of his time with Robyn's children, saying they were the only ones who obeyed his strict rules. Meanwhile, Janelle and Christine's kids, most of whom were already adults, started to pull away, feeling hurt and abandoned. Cody showered Robyn's home with time, stonewalling, canceling visits, or barely keeping in contact with his other children, according to reports. The split was not lost on anyone. Fans were quick to notice the obvious differences. Cody complimented Robyn's kids for their obedience and loyalty, and clearly suggested that his other children lacked spiritual kinship and simple respect. It was favoritism in the making. Out there in the open. Out there for millions to see. Then tragedy. This is a story of tragedy. Garrison Brown's death shocked the family to its foundations. It was a terrible reminder of how fragile these relationships truly are, and, for Cody, perhaps a belated wake-up call. Afterwards, he apologized. He appeared to understand just how far things had fallen apart and started reconnecting with Janelle and Christine's families, perhaps realizing too late how far he had driven them away. And Robyn's response? Well, not initially, but later, Robyn announced something cryptic. She and Cody would take annual pilgrimages to Wyoming. Why? So her kids could plant roots there? Wyoming holds rich personal and familial significance for Cody. It's where he grew up, where his dad previously owned property, and where countless landmark moments with his first wives were made. To longtime followers, Robyn's surprise enthusiasm about binding her children to that location seemed strange. Her children already have roots bound to their biological father and early life. To many, it seemed like another action in Robyn's constant cycle, inserting herself and her children into volumes of Cody's life they quite simply weren't a part of. It was déjà vu all over again. The painting, the sermon, and now this symbolic journey. At the heart of it all is one unshakable fact. History can't be rewritten. But Robyn persists. Whether through official adoption, sentimental paintings, or vetted travel arrangements, the pattern is clear. She looks uneasy with the realities of her history and is always trying to overwrite it with an edited version, one which features Cody at its center. And fans are paying attention. Social media is full of reaction. Reddit threads, Facebook forums, TikTok videos, all analyzing Robyn's every action. Screen captures, previous episode cuts, and thorough commentary pick apart the contradictions. One fan summed it up so well. Robyn doesn't only want to be included in the story. She wants to rewrite the entire book. But most troubling of all is what this has done to the kids. Dayton, Aurora, and Brianna are from another chapter in Robyn's life. That chapter may have been messy or painful, but it was their chapter nevertheless. To pretend otherwise isn't only untrue, it's unfair to them. Kids, like everyone, are owed to have their true tales respected, not swapped out for the sake of a neater story. Meanwhile, the rift between Robyn's children and the rest of the Brown family has widened. Robyn frequently frames her children as the most respectful, the most loyal, and the most worthy of Cody's attention and affection. Unintentionally, this has resulted in the alienation of Cody's other 13 children, most of whom have expressed themselves as feeling disconnected and wounded. The fans are angry. For those who've watched Sister Wives since the beginning, the Brown family originally represented a non-traditional but strivingly supportive and cohesive family. That image is now disintegrating. Now, the show depicts a world of division, favorites, and raw emotional fissures, with Robyn often at their center. The notion of rewriting your history to make your future better makes sense. But the reality? It always manages to escape. Robyn Brown may continue to try to redefine the history of her family's past, but those who lived through it and observed it recall. They recall who was present from the start, who sacrificed the most, and who's still speaking truth to power. Robyn might be gaining Cody's approval with her staged memories and emotional theatrics, but it's not without a price: the audience's trust. Her narrative is no longer viewed as one of merging families, but one of substituting them. And in the world of reality TV, where every shot exists in perpetuity in reruns and recaps, there's no erasing the past. No matter how many paintings you donate, speeches you cry during, or symbolic journeys you make to Wyoming, one thing persists. Robyn Brown didn't build the Brown family, but she might be the one who's tearing it down. Since its debut in 2010, TLC's Sister Wives has given viewers an up-close glimpse of the unconventional and intricate life of the Brown family. It centers around Cody Brown, who at one point juggled 4 wives: Mary, Janelle, Christine, and Robyn, and their shared 18 kids. Through the years, that has changed, with separations, new directions, and emotional development redefining everything. One of the most controversial storylines? Robyn Brown's integration of her children from a past marriage into the Brown family, raising questions of identity, memory, and the difficulty of really combining families. Robyn came on board at the Browns in 2010 with her 3 kids, Dayton, Aurora, and Brianna, from her union with David Jessup. Her introduction was more than simply adding a new wife to the family. It shifted the entire rhythm of the family. Robyn's devotion to forging one big family resulted in choices that both inspired and provoked. In order to cement those ties, Cody formally adopted his 3 children, after divorcing Mary, his first wife, to wed Robyn legally. The legal adoption permitted Robyn's children to take Cody's last name officially, a gesture intended to represent their complete integration into the Brown family. Although the adoption was presented as a step towards unification, it also sparked discourse on what that unity might have cost them, namely, quiet erasure of their biological father from their lives. The most talked about moment in Sister Wives history was when Robyn surprised Cody with a portrait. In it, a younger Cody cradles her 3 children, Dayton, Aurora, and Brianna, as toddlers. The twist? The photo had been taken from an actual one of Cody with Christine's children, but now Robyn's kids' faces had been superimposed over their faces. Robyn said the painting was meant to symbolize the bond they had formed, a visual memory of the family they'd become, but it split the family's reaction sharply down the middle. Some members of the family and fans found it moving, an honest effort to establish a feeling of family. Others found it very disconcerting. Among those disapproving was Gwendlyn Brown, Christine's and Cody's daughter. She likened the doctored picture to a cringeworthy moment from The Office, in which a character forces himself into a family photo. "It removes our history," she said, articulating what many had already thought. For those paying close attention, the move seemed like more than just art. It seemed like revisionism. Social media buzzed with controversy. Some sympathized with Robyn's attempts to integrate her family, while others accused Robyn of trying to overwrite her children's history and erase the importance of their biological father, David Jessup. This scene, and others similar to it, exposed the emotional high-wire act navigated by blended families, particularly in the high-pressure realm of polygamy and reality television. Robyn's attempt to build a smooth family unit with Cody isn't unusual. Most step-parents attempt to introduce harmony to a blended family. But here, the approach, such as the controversial portrait and her emphasis on constructing a new narrative, highlighted the thin line between developing new memories and rewrites about old ones. Caught in between are Dayton, Aurora, and Brianna, trying to navigate a multifaceted and emotionally charged situation. Though the show has shown real moments of intimacy between them and Cody, how it will ultimately shape them on an emotional level in the long term remains to be seen. Yes, moving in with Cody and taking his surname and being adopted legally might have provided a feeling of safety and belonging. But those symbolic acts might have had an unintended side effect, overshadowing their bonds to their birth father, and part of themselves that shouldn't be forgotten. Spread out all of this on a reality show adds another layer. These aren't simply intimate family choices anymore. They're public spectacle. Robyn's efforts to redefine her children's family identity are now part of a broader discussion, dissected by viewers and critiqued in real time. This raises some significant ethical questions. What occurs when personal history is made into content? Who gets to dictate the narrative when it's being acted out in front of millions? Whereas Sister Wives is supposed to provide insight into the life and tribulations of a polygamous family, it's also become a study in how blended families work through identity, and how hurtful it is when identities are redefined publicly. Robyn's story illustrates the delicate process of attempting to bring a family together, particularly when cohesiveness comes at the expense of memory, history, and agency. As the show goes on, it makes audiences consider the very nature of family, how it's created, how it's remembered, and how tenuous those memories are when they're edited for public consumption. But just as fans were getting used to this heavy emotional fare, TLC pulled a shocker. Cody Brown is no longer with the show. Reports indicate the network has officially parted ways with Cody, and the actual reasons might be even more explosive than fans anticipated. Claims have surfaced to suggest there was a sinister murder plot involved, and all attention is now focused on Robyn Brown. In a surprising twist, Janelle faces off against Robyn head-to-head in a scene that had fans not seeing it coming. A passionate, emotionally charged confrontation that could alter the course of the program forever. As the show enters this new chapter, the stakes are greater than ever. Cody, once at the center of a sprawling polygamous family, is now legally and emotionally obligated to Robyn alone. Christine, Janelle, and Mary all left him behind, and the aftershocks of those exits continue to be felt. Specifically, Janelle Brown is done, and she's not holding back anymore. Janelle Brown has never been afraid to speak up. And recently, she said what most fans have been thinking for years. Cody's favoritism towards Robyn cannot be denied. In one very tense episode, Janelle confronted Cody over comparing Robyn to a Diesel Jeans model. And it was a comment that drew out the huge differences in the way he treats his wives. Robyn, meanwhile, has deflected increasing criticism that she wields too much control over Cody. She dismissed the allegations with obvious exasperation. There's this new idea that I have Cody just wrapped around my little finger and I'm casting evil spells on him. How silly. But tension in the Brown family extends well beyond relationship dynamics. In 2024, they were shaken by a tragedy that would bring even the most broken members of the family into a common place of grief. The suicide death of Cody and Janelle's 25-year-old son, Robert Garrison Brown. On the May 11th episode of Sister Wives, Cody spoke about the intensity of his sorrow. For once, the usually strict patriarch seemed vulnerable and completely shattered. Grief comes in waves, he explained, voice trembling. When it comes to me, I can't escape it. The anguish was fresh, and viewers saw Cody confess to having what felt like an anxiety attack following the loss. Even tears, he admitted, couldn't let go of the pressure of such intense grief. The scene chose an intensely human moment. Cody recalling rocking baby Garrison to sleep and now holding his ashes back to Wyoming, his own childhood and the resting place of his grandparents. I just wanted to bring Garrison home and bury his ashes with his grandma and his grandpa, he whispered. Just kind of complete the circle. This trip was about more than a road trip. It was a pilgrimage, a try by a mourning father to rediscover the origins of his family, to pay tribute to his son, and to discover some degree of spiritual closure. But the mourning was made more difficult by estrangement. During the last several years of his life, Cody and Garrison had drifted apart, a distance that started during the COVID-19 pandemic. Cody's strict protocols clashed with the independence of his older children. Garrison, strong-willed and determined, chose space over submission. At the time, it seemed like temporary tension. But in hindsight, it's left Cody haunted by what-ifs. Sometimes, out of the blue, it'll overcome me, he said. Almost like some kind of anxiety attack. Just a deep, overwhelming feeling that I'll never see him again. In Cody's garage, a Garrison poster is now displayed, a daily reminder of the son he lost and the time they'll never have again. It's a game of consciousness to move with grief, he added. To make your blood sweet instead of bitter from the pain. Janelle's grief has been similarly open. The 6-year-old's mother posted on Instagram a black and white picture of her and her son. The message resonated with the hearts of all the grieving parents out there. It's taken a while to accept the fact that in the end, we did everything we could. Sometimes the mind convinces someone there's no hope, even when all the evidence says otherwise. She also shared her gratitude for her remaining children and the joy her grandchildren bring. Because of my faith, she wrote, I know I'll be reunited with Garrison one day. The tragedy was first addressed in the May 4th episode, but it was the May 11th episode that peeled back the layers, exposing not only grief, but also the regret and love that continue to linger in the aftermath. The formerly close Brown family has disintegrated over time. Christine, Janelle, and Mary have all distanced themselves from Cody. Robyn alone is left, still in a spiritual marriage to him. But Garrison's death has, at least momentarily, reunited them. At the hands of unimaginable tragedy, even the strongest grievances ceased. For the first time in years, pain had overcome estrangement. Grief doesn't care who you were mad at last year, Cody said. It just breaks you open, and you hope maybe some of that breaking lets the light in. For over a decade, viewers of Sister Wives have watched the Browns endure everything from financial strain and spiritual upheaval to emotional rifts and public scrutiny. But no challenge, no scandal, has cut as deeply as the loss of Garrison Brown. This tragedy is real, raw, and human. And for the first time ever, viewers were reminded that behind the headlines and shows are individuals, parents, and siblings attempting to endure unimaginable loss. Following the death of Garrison, the family has started utilizing their platform to raise awareness about mental health. At the end of the May 11th episode, TLC broadcast a message for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Cody and Janelle have addressed fans directly, asking them to check on the individuals who appear to be fine, because Garrison had appeared fine. He had a secure job, a home of his own, beloved pets, and future plans. On paper, his life was complete. That's what gets me, Janelle confessed. He seemed fine. The family's sorrow now runs through each plot thread, not only as an instant of calamity, but as a summons to vulnerability and reunion. I thought we'd have more time, Cody repeated. Time to talk, to make things right. But time, as they've learned, can run out far too soon. At 56, Janelle Brown has faced many storms, but nothing prepared her for 2024, the year she lost her son. Long the unassuming backbone of the Brown family, Janelle committed almost 3 decades to bringing up her 6 children in the intricacies of plural marriage. Even when her marriage to Cody fell apart, she held firm, putting her children first. When the COVID-19 pandemic struck, it didn't merely challenge public infrastructure, it challenged families. For the Browns, it marked the start of a deep unraveling. Cody's more and more strict quarantine rules wedged him apart from some of his older kids, particularly Garrison. Strong and independent and quick-witted, Garrison fought back. A lover of animals, a quick wit with a sharp tongue, and affectionate with his little brothers and sisters, he was the kind of kid who was hard to dislike. But his relationship with Cody began to become strained. Janelle was his rock throughout it all. And yet, sadly, even a mother's profound and enduring love wasn't sufficient to protect him from the fight he waged in secret. Garrison took his own life on March 5th, 2024, at the age of 25. The tragedy sent shockwaves not just through the Brown household, but through a fan base that had seen Garrison mature from boy to man in living rooms across the country. His passing was a painful reminder of the unseen cost of mental health issues, particularly among young men. Now, nearly a year on, Janelle is going through her second Mother's Day without her son. She behaves graciously on camera, but the grief is there, subdued, pervasive, and biting, like an open wound that never heals. During season 19 of Sister Wives, we see Janelle keep it together for her other kids, especially for her youngest child, Savannah, who at only 20 is now dealing with a loss many won't experience until much further in life. Janelle and Savannah share the moments of everyday life, constructing a new home, dreaming up a new future, all knowing that Garrison will never be there to experience any of it. There is one quiet, intense moment in the season. Janelle and Savannah stand on North Carolina land, newly bought as a new beginning, somewhere to build something solid after so many years of not knowing. But the air is thick. Garrison never saw this land, Janelle speaks, her voice breaking. And in that instant, it's certain. He will never walk on this planet, never witness the dawn over the trees, never slumber on the porch she imagines constructing. This new book, one of possibility, is also now one of loss. For Christine Brown, the sorrow is different. Garrison was not her biological son, but she raised him. During the early years, when the Brown children were raised in one household, Christine was in a pivotal position, not only as a sister wife, but as a second mother to many of the children. Her affection for them was, and still is, unconditional. Garrison's loss has reminded everyone of the Browns and their audience of something simple and heartbreaking. Life is fleeting. Grudges disappear. Fame does too. But a parent's love for a child will endure forever. As the family struggles to find its way through its damaged dynamics, the tragedy of Garrison's death has, in a sense, created a communal space of grief, one that even years of separation could not dissipate. This hurt, this loss, it is the great leveler. And in the broken fragments, there can still be hope, though faint, for healing. Janelle was the breadwinner. Christine, the caregiver. Garrison would nap frequently in Christine's arms when he was an infant, and with each passing year, their connection grew stronger in silence. Christine has always referred to her sister wives' children as her own, and with Garrison, that truism proved especially true. In an emotionally wrenching scene, Christine informs her new husband, David Woolley, of Garrison, of his great sense of humor, his generous heart, and how excited she was that he was at their wedding. Even that joyful memory is now tinged with grief. He should have been at every family wedding, she weeps. There were so many things still ahead. Christine's sorrow is mirrored in Janelle's, but it also represents something more. The quiet, unorthodox love that developed between these women and the children they raised with them. Their love family might not have fit a traditional mold, but the love, concern, and mutual care that defined it was undeniably real. As Sister Wives goes on, the mood of the show has changed. What started as a unique look at the inner lives of a contemporary plural marriage has turned into a living documentary, not only of family life, but of heartache, healing, and perseverance. Garrison's death was tackled in raw honesty on the May 4th and May 11th episodes of Season 19. The Brown family made the pilgrimage to Wyoming to inter his ashes alongside his grandparents, symbolic homecoming that created a bittersweet feeling of peace, even amidst great emotional fissures. At the memorial, Cody Brown, usually seen as aloof, seemed deeply transformed. Viewers witnessed a father bereft of defenses, talking with tearful openness about the son he had lost and the love that still lingered even after years of separation. He spoke of holding Garrison as a newborn, the times of joy that had once flowed so easily, and the regrets that now trouble him. "It strikes me like an anxiety attack," Cody told her. "There's so much I didn't say, so much we didn't do." It was a sobering realization, one that served to highlight the brutal reality of grief. It doesn't care. It won't wait for broken relationships or past grudges. It simply aches. Garrison's death has been a wake-up call for the family, casting a long shadow over their history and prompting them to reassess what is important now. For Mary Brown, the agony is different, but no less intense. Now, aged 53, Mary has come out of decades of emotional turmoil and disenchantment. Her romance with Cody, which was once the cornerstone of the Brown family, slowly and agonizingly disintegrated before the eyes of millions. They were young and in love when they got married, joined by religion and the common vision of having a plural family. Taught to believe that plural marriage was a calling from God, Mary embarked on the union with hope, purpose, and conviction. But as the years went by, the ideal had begun to crumble. Mary gave birth to Cody's first child, Leon, but struggled with secondary infertility. Meanwhile, Cody had 17 more children with his other wives. The growing family seemed to expand in every direction, except toward Mary. Their relationship withered. Affection gave way to distance. And in one of the most shocking revelations in the show's history, Cody would later admit, "I never loved her." For Mary, that was not merely heartbreak. It was the shattering of her whole identity. All that she had given up, all that she had come to believe in, was suddenly called into question. Had she confused duty for love? Faith for connection? In season 19, Cody reflects with characteristic bluntness on their early marriage, recalling Mary as clingy and overly affectionate. He even shares that Janelle's mother had expressed concern about Mary's intensity in the relationship. Another wound delivered on national television. But while Cody may be rewriting the past, Mary is working to write her own future. She's entering a new phase. Independent-minded, reflective, and no longer defined by a man who publicly belittled her. And although the wounds are apparent, she bears them with a quiet dignity that will sound familiar to many longtime viewers. The Brown family, collectively, now faces a crossroads. Garrison's passing has reordered their priorities. Old allegiances and resentments have mellowed, if only a little bit, under the pain of shared loss. The now mocked fantasy of plural marriage has yielded broken homes and lonely roads ahead. But with the tragedy, too, is something else: clarity. In allowing the cameras to capture their grief, the Browns have assisted in opening up the curtains of bereavement, suicide, and mental illness, all subjects usually veiled in secrecy. They've reminded viewers that recovery is not linear, that family life is messy, and that love, albeit shattered, leaves its imprint. "He looked like he was okay," Janelle said, "and that's what haunts me." Now, their stories are more than plural marriage. They're about humanity, about loss, love, and regret, and hope that even after unimaginable heartache, something of value can still be constructed. Perhaps the most telling insight from Cody Brown's musings was when he acknowledged that at one point early in his marriage, a member of their own religion called him out on how embarrassing his public affection with Mary was for Janelle. It was a turning point, one Cody says altered how he conducted himself with all his wives. After that, he says, he learned to respect space, to share his love, to control impressions, to be cautious. But what he didn't understand was that in learning to hold back, he was also constructing walls. Walls that would ultimately close Mary out of his heart for good. For Mary, it wasn't one dramatic break that dissolved the marriage. It was a gradual wearing away, 1,000 tiny heartbreaks over a period of years. And yet, she remained. She remained when Cody wedded more wives. She remained when he chose other families over her. She remained even when, before a national audience, he informed her that he didn't have romantic feelings for her. Years went by, and Mary held on to her faith and to her devotion to plural marriage, hoping that love could be restored. That commitment would prevail in the end. But love, it appeared, had slipped out the back door silently. Nevertheless, Mary looked for connection elsewhere. In perhaps the most notorious chapter in Sister Wives' history, she became involved with someone she met online who turned out to be a catfishing operation. She thought that she was communicating with a man who liked her, only to find out that it was a woman who was manipulating her behind a false identity. The betrayal was not only humiliating, it was devastating. Not only had Mary been emotionally exposed, but she had stepped outside the close-knit, protected sphere of her plural family for solace, to discover additional anguish. And in that moment of anguish, there was a turning point. Mary started to drift away from the orbit of the family. She established a bed and breakfast in Utah, formed friendships independent of Cody's control, and gradually began to rebuild her sense of self. She was no longer just Cody's first wife. She wasn't merely Leon's mother, she was Mary Brown, a woman discovering how to breathe once more. By season 19, Mary had parted ways with Cody. But ultimatums, there were none. No angry outbursts. Their breakup was subdued. More resignation than revolt. It was the subdued, unblinking recognition that she deserved better. Better than complacency. Better than betrayal. Better than being treated as an afterthought. In perhaps the most heart-wrenching moment of the season, Cody assists Mary in packing up to move back to Utah. In a final goodbye, he gazes at her and says, "Mary, it's the end of an era. We had something." And for the first time in a long time, they both agreed. They had something. Perhaps not the forever love they once dreamt of, but something real, something that counted. Now, Mary is starting to date again. The new world of romance is a long way from the spiritual courtships of her past. But she's moving slowly, dating new people, learning to do new things, discovering again what it's like to be noticed. Friends report that she's laughing more, going out more, reconnecting with joy. But trust, understandably, remains a barrier. Following emotional abandonment, public humiliation, and years of unspoken hurt, how do you ever open your heart again? Mary knows she deserves love. She's never stopped believing that. But believing in someone else, trusting that their intentions are true, that's another matter entirely. These days, for Mary, vulnerability isn't automatic. It's a choice, a deliberate, courageous act. And maybe that's where her strength lies. Not in being fearless, but in being brave enough to try again, even while afraid. Her story is resonating deeply with fans, especially with women who have endured betrayal, isolation, or the quiet decay of a once sacred relationship. Mary's story isn't just about plural marriage anymore. It's not even about Cody. It's about resilience, about the human capacity to rise, to rebuild, and to reclaim your own worth. As season 19 unfolds, fans aren't cheering for Mary because she found a new man. They're celebrating because she discovered herself. The grace with which she's navigated her exit, her sorrow, and her rebirth is uplifting. She's teaching viewers what it is to opt for peace instead of chaos, self-love instead of sacrifice, and hope instead of fear. Mary might never trust in love the same way again. But perhaps that's all right, because true love, the kind that lasts, isn't based on blind faith. It's based on truth, on choice, on strength gained the hard way. And if that's the love Mary ends up with, it will be all the more sweeter for the path it took to get there.